Hello, welcome back to the Crafty Organizer. I'm Noreen Burke, and if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by, and if you're returning, it's nice to hang out with you again. The other day I had a viewer make a comment and they said, Noreen, I'm pretty good at organizing. I understand putting likes with likes. I understand categories. What I struggle with is how do you know what containers to put in a space? When you look at a bookcase or you look at a closet, how do you know which containers to put in there? And I thought it was such a great question that I decided to make today's video about my favorite organizing containers and how I look at the spaces when I walk into a client. So often when I walk in and start working with someone, I don't know what they're going to need. That's the honest truth. So I always come prepared with set sizes of containers that work 90% of the time. Now, every once in a while, I'll come across a collection they have that has specialty things, or they'll have a cabinet that's a really unique size, and then I just have to measure and go find the closest container I can get, or I end up making a custom one. So let's go through some of the containers that I use all of the time and some of the ways that I would use those in a space. Let's start with my favorites from the Dollar Tree. Now, some of these that I use, I have only ever found at the Dollar Tree, and I think they're fantastic. Starting with these little trays that go inside of drawers. I love these. If you ever go to Bed Bath & Beyond, you're going to see the Rubbermaid brand that looks exactly like this, and it's anywhere from $4 to $6 per container. These Dollar Tree bins are super sturdy. They have the same rubber feet, which means they don't slide around in drawers, and they have a rubber bottom, which means that when you're putting things inside, they don't slide around and it's easy to grab them and they're much easier to keep clean. Now, the reason I like these is this is a nice long one. This fits most utensils, most craft brushes. I use these a lot when I'm working in kitchens for organizing teas. A lot of people have a huge assortment of teas, and these are wonderful for a drawer. The other reason I like these is they're low. Now, the Dollar Tree sells these other organizers, and they come in an assortment of sizes too, but look at the height difference of that. They are almost a full inch taller, and I've been to so many homes where the drawers are not that deep. These have fit every drawer I've ever put them in. The other thing that I like these for is if you're using a larger bin and you're trying to break down small categories, these fit inside almost every size box that you would have, and I'm going to be covering some of those in a minute. Now, another thing I want you to think of when you're looking at these is they come in a huge amount of sizes. So with them being able to nest inside, when you've got a drawer that doesn't have a lot of storage capacity, you can put shallow things on here and then set these right on top and have double organizing space in a drawer. Since I did bring this one up, the Cooking Concept is the brand that is deeper. These are great. They have a little lip on the side so they can hook together and stay connected in a drawer. Again, because these are deeper, I like these for larger size things. So these, in my opinion, work better for craft items. But if you do have a deeper drawer, these are great to help things keep all compartmentalized, and they do come in a couple of different sizes. Most of the time I only see them in gray or black. The next container bin I want to talk about from the Dollar Tree are these soda can bins. Now, I know you can get these elsewhere, but if you can find them for $1, why not pick them up? These are a great size. They fit on most cabinet shelves because they're about 11 inches deep. If you watched my Totally Tiffany dupe where I made that strong storage container, which by the way is still holding up perfectly, we discovered in that video that one of these holds 32 bottles of the acrylic paint, which I think is phenomenal. You can also fill this up with ribbon, but I also discovered that those clamshell containers for the Stampin' Up sets fit perfectly in here, which means that you can fit your stamps in here, or you can fit in your dies in here. They'll stand up and you can fit them on a shelf. You can either label the low side or you can flip it around and have a nice big area to put a label on. Now, another great use for these containers is in the kitchen. These fit so well on a kitchen cabinet. You can put your little spices in here. You can organize your oils, your vinegars, your different seasonings. So in the kitchen, these are just as wonderful. And I've been using mine in my refrigerator to keep the cheeses, the small produce, and fruit organized. So when you see these, grab them. Another Dollar Tree item I want to talk about are the storage bags. Now, I did a whole video on the proper way to use storage bags, the different quality types, but the ones from the Dollar Tree are fine for things like yarn, or if you just have 1 or 2 small blankets. But in a craft area, think about bagging up your floral supplies, getting them all bagged up, then you can hang them higher up in a room or in a closet. But for yarn, you can go ahead and put 6 to 8 skeins inside of a bag, roll it up to get all of that air out of it. Be careful of your rings or nails because they are a little bit thinner, so they do have a tendency to pierce just a little bit easier than, say, the Ziploc brand or the space bags. So be careful, but you would be able to get something that was super thick like this down to just an inch or 2. Then they could easily be stored under a bed or higher up on a shelf to take up a whole bunch of less space. The last Dollar Tree bin I'm going to talk about are these locker bins. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, these have been my favorite go-to pretty much since I started my career. The first time I discovered these little bins, I was hooked. I think they are incredible, and I honestly think I've used them on just about every job I've ever done. I love them because they're just the right size to handle from a shelf. I had mentioned in the soda can dispensers using them for vinegars and oils. If you have a lot of them, this is such a smart solution because you can pull it out, grab the handle. This will fit a ton of supplies, but you could also use it in your craft room, bathroom, kids' room, under the sink. There really isn't anything that you can't do with these. The colors change from season to season. White is a pretty consistent color, but if you didn't like the color it came in, you can always spray paint these or decoupage them, cover them with contact paper, anything you'd like to make it match your aesthetic. But these are a go-to. So since I mentioned these, as you can see, they fit really nicely on a shelf. They are exactly the same depth as they would be on a bookcase. Now, if I was using this bookcase for storage, you can see it's great that I have these bins in here, but there's a lot of dead space right here. So depending upon what my situation is for storage, if I'm really short on storage space, I don't want to lose this vertical space. So I'm going to look for a different solution. And in that instance, what I would probably switch out for is shoe boxes. Shoe boxes stack up and will take up this vertical space so much better. And I've always loved the Sterilite brand. The Dollar Tree has shoe boxes. I don't recommend them because the Sterilite brand has a little tab on the inside. So when you put them on, they click, they stay on. So if you grab that lid, it's not going to fall off. You can actually pull it out by grabbing the lid. The ones from the Dollar Tree don't do that. They just kind of rest on top. And what ends up happening is because they're not as strong, when you put things on top, they have a tendency to collapse and you'll have to rebuy them. So go ahead and spend the extra few cents. The Sterilite brand is usually on sale at Walmart for under $1. They have them on sale at Target all of the time. So go ahead and get the Sterilite brand. But once again, you can spray paint the lid so it does match your decor. And I've always suggested putting a piece of paper or fabric on the inside. If you want to dress them up, by just slipping something in the front, you can still see everything that's on the side. I don't mind seeing what's inside. I'll just usually put a pretty decorative label. Another thing I would do if this was a client I was working for is, do you see this little dead space right here? I would get rid of that. Bookshelves are always nice because they have adjustable pegs. And if they don't, I've shown in a video previously how you can add another storage shelf by not drilling into the cabinets. So I'm going to lower this shelf real quick to show you how much more efficient this would be. By lowering this shelf just those few pegs, I have now maximized all of the space on this shelf. I can fit another 4 shoe boxes on this shelf for a total of 6. And then I can break things down inside of here further by using smaller containers, bags, or little boxes. Now another container I really like getting, and this is something I do find at the 99-cent store, but you can also get them at Walmart, Target, and all of the other discount style stores. But that's these larger style wicker looking baskets. I love these. I think these just about have the best aesthetic. I use these in my kitchen because they fit perfectly in the one and only small spice cabinet I have. So I have smaller dividers in there to organize the things that I have. But that's one of the things I like about that is you can fit smaller containers inside. And the reason you would do that is if you're sitting in a space working and you need one particular thing. If you're like me and you have a small space, you don't have a lot of area to put a whole big box out. But if you have small containers inside, you can simply pull them out, get access to the supply that you need, and then it has a designated place to go back inside. If, however, you did want to use the entire thing, it's easy enough to grab and have all of those like categories that are subdivided down inside in one container. This type of organizing is especially useful if it's up a little bit higher. Now again, if this was the only space I had for it, I would still try and adjust the shelves so that it pretty well fit just right inside. So in this instance, I would raise the shelf back up, and if I needed to, I would use the small platform to create a smaller shelf where I could put either some paper pads, or some smaller shallow bins. The last container I'm going to talk about is one of my frequently used, and that is the 56-quart Sterilite containers. These are the big boys that I use when I am putting together my stainless steel racks. I love these. The prices vary. You can sometimes catch them on sale for about $5, but usually they're closer to $7 to $8. Now, 56 quart seems to be the best size because any more than that and they get to be too heavy. I know that they have larger ones, like the 66 quart is the next one up, but honestly, those don't fit as efficiently on those storage racks that I have. But if you're not using that type of rack, you just have rafters in a garage or shelves that are built in your craft room, then that would be great for your space. I still recommend the 56 quart though, because like I said, it's just the right size to manage. And even if you put a lot of things in there, it's still manageable for weight. Now here's what I like about the 56 quart. Is you can nest inside a ton of containers. And why this would work well in a craft space especially is if you have a small craft space and you want to keep your crafting things in one bin. When you want to craft, you could just pull out this whole bin, grab the single bin of what you're working on, and then slide it right back inside. So here's what I do. I'll go to Target or Walmart and I'll pick up my 56 quart container and I will literally sit on the floor and start playing with the containers to see how they will fit inside. They change the brands so often and they play with the sizes. So what worked the one time when I go back to buy them again, it's not there. And I always find that frustrating. So when I'm working with a client, I will have several of these things on hand just so I can make it easy. One of the best examples I have of this is I was organizing a storage area and we used one of the storage racks that I had and we wanted to keep things simple. So we used a 56 quart container for electronics, but then inside were camera equipment, computer equipment, cables, memory cards, and that way when they needed something they could just pull out the one bin but not have to dig through all of those miscellaneous things. They were subdivided inside of a container. So for example, if they were working on their camera, they could just pull out the camera equipment, know exactly where it is, and know exactly where to put it back. So I really like subdividing the things inside of larger containers like this so that everything still has a spot. But this is absolutely how I approach organizing jobs, is I'll have these miscellaneous things on hand. I like having the different sizes of containers so that depending upon what we have once we get those categories broken down, I have a size that will match the contents. But then I'll play around with shelves so that I'm maximizing every inch. If it is a closet that doesn't have a lot, the other benefit of having bigger containers like this is they can stack on top of each other. Now, whenever possible, I do try and add a shelf because there's nothing worse than having 4 of these big bins stacked on top of each other, and inevitably what you need is on the bottom. So adding a couple of shelves either with cleats or by using some other of the peg methods, you'll be able to easily access the single tote that you need and put it back easily. I know I covered a lot in this video. Hopefully some of the things will provide you some ideas or tips on how you can approach your storage, but I usually honestly approach it just like a game of Tetris. I never go in with a clear plan. We always have to manipulate it a little bit because inevitably we find more of the item that we categorized that we have to play with. But in the end, by applying these techniques of different containers, playing with the layout of shelves or creating shelves if we can, will always allow us to use up every functional space in that storage area. I hope you enjoyed this video. A huge thanks to my patrons who are allowing me to make these videos, and a huge thanks to you for watching. I will see you guys in just a few days. Bye!